You're live.
We're live? Okay. Everybody turn their mics on, please. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Move your hands.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody want to make sure that their phones are on silent, please. Alex, roll call, please.
Libby?
Here. Sorry, I got distracted. The bird was facing the wrong way.
Tanya?
Here.
Robert? Here. Becky?
Here.
Fritz?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Guys have it. Thank you. Okay, Chief, you want to come on up and introduce our new police officer?
Sure. I appreciate you guys changing the agenda a little bit for me, but Art's on the clock, so we're trying to minimize some comp time here. I want to introduce Archer Freitas. He's our newest police officer. He beat everyone in our hiring process. He reads, writes, and speaks Spanish fluently. He comes from the private security industry, and he's starting the academy August 30th. We got a spot squeezed in for him. So he'll be off to there, but until then, he'll be on our field training program. So I'll let Ars say a few words here. Excuse me, pardon me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Chief said, I'm Archer Freitas. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Chief. You know, this has been a lifelong dream goal of mine. It's going to law enforcement. So we're making it happen. My job now is to ensure the safety of the town of Fortville and its residents, and to make sure my brothers and sisters go home safe. And I will not accept nothing less. So learn as much as I can, and I'm looking forward to the journey. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Joe, you want to introduce?
Yeah, as you all know, Carrie left us. Friday was her last day working in the town of Fortville. And we've got a replacement, Mr. Andy Williams back here in the back row. I'd like to have him come in. You want to come up and say?
Officer Freitas already said what I was going to say. Thank you all for everything you do.
Yes, we can put a name to the face.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having work.
We're going to move on to new business. Council to review and consider taking action on the resolution number 2021 7B, resolution adopting a fiscal plan for ordinance number 2021 5C and a proposed voluntary annexation approximately 18.75 acres at 1700 West 234, owned by Randall and Martha Littrell. Wow, what did that just say? We're adopting a resolution to change an ordinance. Okay.
So good evening. For the record, I'm Adam Zaplikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. So this particular item is anytime we do an annexation, even in the case where it's voluntary, 100% voluntary like this one, the state law does require that you do a fiscal plan, and there are certain provisions within that plan that you have to put in there. Obviously, it's a one-size-fits-all type document. Those documents become a lot more important if it was an adverse annexation of a neighborhood, something like that. But for this is really pretty run-of-the-mill for voluntary annexation. So this particular property is the one that is just east of the administration building, the empty field there. The school district is looking to purchase it. It's currently an unincorporated Hancock County. And then there's a rezone item on this agenda as well to close that out. So really the only takeaway from the fiscal plan is that the town will be able to provide services within the allotted time per state law, and there won't be any difficulty in doing that. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those. Thanks.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, good luck, Robert.
I'm going by title only. I make a motion to approve resolution 2021-7B, a resolution adopting a written fiscal plan establishing a policy for the provisions of services to an annexed area by title only.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, moving on to the second, council to provide input in considering holding first reading on ordinance number 21-7A, a rezone of Byers Farm LLC property east of Mount Vernon North subdivision from residential 1.0 to planned PUD. Plan Commission public hearing scheduled for July 27th.
Refresh. All right, for this particular item, this is simply a first reading, an introductory reading of a proposed rezone of the Byers Farms property that's directly east of the Mount Vernon North subdivision, so it's across the street from Fortville Pike. If you'll recall, Arbor Homes at one point was looking to develop this property. That proposal did not go through. There's a new home builder that's based out of, private home builder that's based out of Northwest Indiana that's relatively new to the Central Indiana market that's looking to develop the property. So we provided you with the plan unit development document, the concept plan, building elevations as submitted. We do have some minor staff comments that we provided to the developer, and those we'll be discussing those prior to the Plan Commission meeting. So the formal public hearing on this item will be on the 27th of this month at the Plan Commission. But certainly, if you have any comments or feedback on this proposal, we'd certainly like to hear it now so it can be incorporated into the document. And I think if you're inclined, the home builder would like to do just a brief overview of the project. We'll be doing a more comprehensive presentation and analysis of the Plan Commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions on this?
Derek wants to speak.
Yes, sir. You want to come on?
Thank you. Members of the council, it's a pleasure to be here. I am Brian House, a partner with the law firm Rafritzky and Davis in Greenfield. With me is Mr. Derek Hayes of Walthall Farms. Perhaps perhaps Adam can show some of the additional slides. As has been stated, though, this is a planned unit development. It is a mixture of homes in a number of architectural styles. There are detached homes. There are also family attached homes. The neighborhood, and maybe Adam can bring up, I think it's the first slide. All right, thank you, Adam. There's a site location. I'm sure you're all familiar with the site because you did consider development on this site before. Can you go to the next slide, Adam? And again, a little bit of depiction of the site. And let's see the next slide. There we go. Let's talk about that one for a bit. This is, as noted, a planned unit development rezone request. The purpose of a planned unit development, which is covered in the statutes in Indiana, is to provide a bit more creativity and, in certain circumstances, flexibility for development. As you can see, this development keeps in mind what I think is the desire of the community and your planning director to have a classic neighborhood layout. Generally, the streets are straight, the lots are arranged, and the fashion that we would see traditionally neighborhoods of the past. And I think that served Fortville well. As you can see, there's ample open space, certain woods will be preserved. We have a couple of plazas, if you will, my terminology, not necessarily the developers. Certainly landscaping and amenities throughout. If we can go on, you'll see some exemplars of the types of homes that would be present in this home or this development. Well, let me make a few comments. As you're probably painfully aware, I do a lot of development and zoning work in the county, and I'm up to date with what builders are doing and what home buyers are buying. That's a good one to stick with. There is a clear trend in home development today. When I grew up, and many of us, the classic middle American dream was the brick-wrapped one-story ranch. The popularity of that sort of home style is fading. What we see today are homes that exhibit a farmhouse style, a craftsman style, really sort of hearkening back to homes we would have seen built in the 1920s, the 1930s. And as you can see, this illustrates very well that there are a number of exterior features, including shakes, clapboard, and so on. If you want to go on just a bit, porches are coming back into vogue, which I think is a wonderful feature. Again, we see porch, we see masonry, we see shakes. These are the types of homes that are popular today. And the advances in construction materials make these homes not only extremely durable, but also, there's no such thing as a maintenance-free home, but maintenance is reasonable. If you'll care to go on, Anna. And now, again, these are exemplars, but again, there's a home that I would say is sort of a farmhouse style. We have a porch. We also have projections in the front facade. So, it's really attractive because you're not just looking at a rectangle with brick and some windows and a door. As you can see from the first one of the earlier slides you saw the layout. We have worked, and in particular, Mr. Hayes has worked with Planning Director Zach Lakowski. We've talked about development standards, commitments, and so on. And I would like to think that we are on the way to a development which will be a wonderful addition to the town of Fortville, providing excellent homes, market competitive, and in styles that are in the market today, and I believe will be very much in demand and value for years to come. If you have any technical questions, I would pitch those to Mr. Hayes. I will say in closing that Altoff is a company that is, again, Mr. Zach Tukowski stated, started out in Northwest Indiana, or Northeast Indiana, I believe. Northwest Indiana, long history. This is one of the dual residence homes. There are a couple of other developments in the county like this where there is a mix of the single family residence and then dual family. They have done very, very well, and they're very popular. One development I'm familiar with, which is similar in appearance to this, is south on 500 West, about 300 south. And excellent development, sold through very quickly, and I would anticipate the same sort of success and interest in this development. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
My only question is, it doesn't really show on here where those paired cottages compare to the single-family homes here on the plan.
Yeah.
I know, I see how many they're saying,
Derek can point that out if you don't mind.
So the colors might be a little hard to tell, but the light yellow colored lots are single family,
but, okay.
and then kind of the peach color is the paired villas. So we wanted to mix them in throughout the community so there wasn't, one separate section of one product and separate section of the other. We kind of wanted it to feel like one seamless community.
Can you scroll down just a bit? Yeah. Thank you. You can see the site data. Again, this is a nice mix of, you know, it's reasonable density. You can see the I have a hard time reading that from this distance, but you can see the number of units. You have 172 of the single-family units. You have the paired cottages at 176, and that is the development as proposed. Any other questions or comments?
Do we have any public comment on this project? Come on up. Oh,
I just wonder what's the square footage on these homes going to be? And I can't tell what the acreage is here we're dealing with. How many acres is this?
Certainly. Square footage, again, Mr. Hayes can answer that, but this plat is 112 acres. I mean, it's 111.893 acres, to be precise.
Yeah, the square footage for the single family homes is roughly from about 1,700 square feet up to 3,100, even more than that if there's, you know, added sunrooms.
Okay,
Additions to
you
that.
show a picture, but you don't know how big
Yeah,
it is.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
the
the
thing,
paired villas are around 1,500 to 1,600 square feet.
Each side.
Yeah.
What's the lot
Okay.
size?
What's that?
What's the lot size?
The lot size for 2 units is roughly 90 by 125. So about 45 feet for each unit.
the other thing I would say is Mr. Hayes has been out in the area. He has met with several of the landowners and homeowners in that area. Thus far, there hasn't been any negative response.
I have a question on the design. What about the garage doors? Do those always have to be in the front? Can you put those to the back of the house?
For these products, it's only in the front load garages.
Really?
Yeah, if we had garages in the back, it had to change. Well, I mean, we just don't have a product for that, but are you referring to like alley load
Could
product?
be.
Rear load, yeah, we would have to revise the whole layout and we don't have a product for that.
And I'll speak to that again. I'm sure you can appreciate that development like this is ferociously expensive. By the time you do the roads, the curbs, the stormwater, the wastewater, detention, landscaping, you are in a situation where to do a side load or a rear load garage makes it difficult to accommodate that sort of a plan on a lot where you can develop a sufficient number of homes to be cost effective for a parcel of this size. But again, and I know that Mr. Zach Plakowski will insist upon this, the garage doors will have windows, they'll be styled to integrate into the home. It's not just the common, you know, there's a flat surface. Anything else?
thank you.
Thank you.
Adam or Alex, would you mind just doing a run through for next steps, what the process is? Timeline?
Sure. So we do have I would say, a fairly efficient process to start out with. Certainly, if things were to come up, there were concerns, we could always slow it down, but the Plan Commission meeting is on Tuesday, July 27th at 6:30 here at Town Hall. The Plan Commission will analyze it and make a recommendation, either a positive or negative recommendation. They may also recommend conditions of approval. And then from there, it would come back to you all for a second reading, a final reading, to critique their recommendation and see if you agree with it or not. So it would probably come back to the town council, maybe the first meeting in August, if we're able to procedurally do that, or it could be the second meeting in August. And then from there, that would wrap up the zoning portion of it. But as you know, that's really just the initial part of the whole entire development cycle. The next part is they would have to file a primary plat or preliminary plat for the entire neighborhood, all 348 lots. And primary plats are reviewed under state law exclusively by the planning commission. So that could happen as early as maybe into late August, maybe into September, where they would review that. And of course, they would use this plan unit development document as their guiding document to make sure that the lot sizes and the technical engineering info is in conformance with that. And then really the last, so it would stop with the planning commission, it would come back to council. And then really the kind of the last piece in the entitlement process is they would submit secondary plats and construction plans for each phase of the project. And that would be reviewed administratively by staff to make sure that it's in conformance with the PUD and the preliminary plat. And then once they secure those approvals, they would have permits to do the construction of the neighborhood. And then once they're finished with the infrastructure in a particular piece, then they will submit for building permits. So that's in a nutshell how the process works. Any questions on that? Thank you.
I do have a question, and you probably have considered this. It's not, what's your targeted price point?
So right now, based on, current market, we're estimating the paired villas probably a price range around 250,000. And then the single family homes on average, and this is the home with options included, it's probably around 350,000 average sales price. I mean, it go up from there based on square footage and options, but that's just a rough ballpark.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I think that's
I'll make a motion to move forward with ordinance number 2021-7A, first reading, change of zoning classification for Buyers Farm LLC, Buyers Estates PUD by title only.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. C, comprehensive discussion for clerk treasurer. Compensation. Sorry.
Okay, we gave everybody a raise in January. We never give Missy a raise because if we give her more, anybody coming in new has to have the same amount. But we have found out that she could get the longevity pay in the health savings account. I don't know why they've never gotten a health savings account since they have the town insurance. And the longevity pay is not that much money. Those are things that we can give her that anybody else coming in will not automatically get. But I just think it's time that we show her some appreciation and not just always exclude her from everything.
I think anybody that's on the town insurance should have access to that health savings plan anyway. I think that's odd that they don't.
Yeah.
Well, let me, if I make it clear, she does have the insurance, right? She's on her insurance.
Yes.
So the money you're talking about is actually given to the employees as a bonus. It's nothing to do with the HSA. If the employee chooses to use that toward their HSA, then it can be added to that, or they can do whatever they want to with it. So that, those funds are actually a bonus, it's not an HSA. Originally, it was put in place because when the town went to the HSA, it cost the employees so much more money out of pocket. And in the beginning of the year, they had a lot of medical bills that they couldn't cover it. So it was given as a bonus. If they wanted to use it for HSA, they could, but it's not part of that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because our insurance company made it very clear that back in the day that if we classify it as an HSA contribution and not as a bonus, then it puts us in another elevation as far as insurance, more of a Cadillac style, and it just changes our premium even more so.
Really?
So it's the same, everybody gets the same amount every year, is that what it is?
So this money goes directly to them and they can do with what they want to with it?
If an employee chooses to, say, just go ahead and add that to my HSA account, they can do that, and it's before taxes. Or if they want to take it as a bonus, they can, and they can contribute themselves throughout the year to their HSA. So it's up to the employee how they want
I see.
to,
Never
And
knew that.
what is the bonus amount?
$1,875.
And then the longevity is still only 200 a year, right?
Alex, any concerns with that nuance of it being a bonus versus?
Bonuses are compensation. So I think that would tie into what Becky referenced about the limit on, every clerk treasurer from here forward would be eligible for that bonus. We'll get that, and you can't take it away. So I think, should that program go away for town employees with respect to the clerk treasurer, it would remain.
And what
If
about
it's an
the-
automatic, like, everyone gets it, I mean, that's compensation.
And then what's about the $200, is that also?
It is not compensation by statute. The legislature amended that statute a couple of years ago and clarified some different categories. I think I emailed the council those pieces that would not trigger that increase in salary that would remain forever. So yeah, the longevity pay is something that you could amend the ordinance and allow the clerk treasurer to be paid longevity, and also other things, you can give increased compensation for certifications and education that clerk treasurers receive. Those don't fall under particular compensation.
Is it possible that they could create longevity at a higher rate for the clerk treasurer? It'd be different than everyone else's. That would be a way to bump that.
I don't see why not.
As long as it was in the salary
Yeah, you need
ordinance.
to amend the salary ordinance. Yeah, it needs to be clear.
That way it wouldn't be attached to the compensation.
Yeah, it just says longevity pay.
Maybe we should look at this.
So to make up the difference between, I really did not know that about the HSA. I mean, I remember going to the bank and opening up an account, and I think that
Everybody
It
has.
started
an
that
HSA
way.
account.
it
Started
didn't
that.
change.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so,
Even if it's pre-tax, it's still compensation.
yeah, that makes no sense. And you don't have to pay taxes on that.
Not if it goes in your HSA. If you take it out, and use it for
Okay.
medical reasons, it's not
Okay.
qualifying medical reasons, it's not taxed.
Well, that
If you
makes
use it for
sense.
something else, you pay tax.
Okay.
Okay. So if we want to make up that in her longevity, we need to bump it up to a couple thousand a year.
I would caution, it needs to pass the straight face test.
Yeah,
Of not just, okay, we're using this change in the law on longevity to carve out and increase compensation. I think there's a decent chance that the State Board of Accounts on audit may flag that. It may not, but generally speaking, I think the intent of the change in the statute was to allow elected official clerk treasurer and town council members actually, but to take advantage of longevity pay and salary ordinance. So I would be careful trying to make it veer too far, if at all, from the town's current salary ordinance for longevity.
I agree. I need to see that on paper, what that would cost in advance. You wanna,
Yeah, I think more discussion's probably needed. I don't have any problem with the longevity. I don't have any problem with that, but I'm very hesitant to lock us into something going forward. So, I'm okay doing the standard 200 per year, but if you guys are wanting to consider anything greater than that, we're probably going to discuss that in the ramifications. What Alex was
Probably
just
need to
saying.
check the State Board of Accounts.
Do that.
I think.
I'll make a motion to table this to, the next meeting soon enough. You want to go first meeting in
I need another question. When was the last time that position was, the salary was changed for the clerk treasurer? How long has it been?
When Cindy was
Been a
here.
lot of years.
So it's been that same amount for a lot of years? Okay.
Okay, no, next meeting's fine.
It's been longer.
Next meeting or the one after?
Motion.
No, just which one we want. Let's give it.
Next meeting, I'll try to check the state board of accounts in the meantime.
I'll make a motion to table to the next meeting.
Sorry. Try to give me an idea where you want to be and I can try to come up with some creative things for the salary ordinance to go, call it out.
Alex, I'm hearing what you just said. I have some concerns about that.
To be careful with creativity.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have any problem matching what everybody else is getting, and I'm prepared to approve that tonight, but if we're wanting to consider going above that, I think that we need to give that some thought.
It is to me, in my opinion, the law is clear that the intent is to allow cities and towns to compensate clerk treasurers for longevity if they have special degrees or certifications. So if you have a clerk treasurer that's a CPA or has their master's in municipal finance or something like that even exists, that you could, incentivize and pay based on that. So then when that clerk treasurer eventually is no longer in the elected office and a new clerk treasurer comes in that isn't a CPA, master in municipal finance, they don't have that additional compensation that's laid out in the salary. So I think it was a way for the legislature providing cities and towns a way to, or local governments a way to incentivize, hopefully to attract candidates for the clerk treasurer's office that may have those more finance and, higher certification. Doesn't necessarily need to be college degrees, but certifications that would equip them with the skills to really carry out the duties of the office.
But the problem, that's an elected official.
It is.
So
Yeah.
you could be the most qualified person, but that doesn't mean you're gonna get elected. So that's the rub on this.
And
I know,
You could always just raise the base too, if you, like.
I know Missy has been taking a lot of the clerk classes that's provided through.
Right.
Whatever it is. I'll check with her and see if she has any certifications on.
Right, but there again, if we make it raise it, you could get somebody that has no certification, they still get paid the same, right?
No.
Certification
Unless they
doesn't
take
count.
it away.
No, no,
Okay,
they have
all
those.
right.
The incentive is good to have though, for those that do get elected that don't have the experience. If you have an incentive for them to learn and to get engaged more, then it would be a good, I don't know if you could do that, but that to me seems like that'd be the ultimate.
We do it with our town staff.
Well, that's what I was just saying, that's
Yeah.
part of it.
Right. So we're tabling this to the first meeting in August.
It'll work. First meeting in August.
Make a motion to table this to the first meeting in August.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. All right, unfinished business. Council to consider second reading of ordinance number 2021-5C regarding the voluntary annexation of land owned by Randall and Martha Literal.
All right, so this item is directly related to the previous fiscal plan that you adopted. So now that you've adopted the fiscal plan, you have the ability to adopt the actual ordinance itself on second reading. And so it would take probably about 30 days before it's effective, before it's officially in the town limits. There's some letters that need to go out to different agencies, the document needs to get recorded, so there is a little bit of a lag time. So with that, if you have any questions, be happy to address those. Thank you.
Any questions? Any public comment?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-5C, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Fortville, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the town of Fortville, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the town of Fortville by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Alrighty, council's consider second reading of ordinance number 2021-5D, a rezone of 1700 West State Road 234 from residential 1.0 to institutional. Adam?
All right, so now that the annexation has passed, you can move forward with the rezone. It's technically still conditional. It wouldn't take, if you're inclined to approve it, it wouldn't take effect until the annexation does, of course. But I just wanted to run through very quickly. If you recall, for all the rezones, there's the criteria in state law that you're to at least consider before making your decision. Same criteria that the Plan Commission looks at, but we'll run through that quickly to make sure we cover all our bases. So here's the property. We're all pretty familiar with it. So I'm going to run through these quickly. The first one in state law that they want you to look at it, is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? There's a rezone. It is, because the comprehensive plan that was done back in 2016 identifies this parcel as institutional or social, which means for a public use. So it's consistent with that. And you can see that that is reflected in that manner on the map itself in the plan. The law says, is it consistent with the current conditions and the character of the current structures? The Plan Commission felt that, well, technically it isn't today, but it would be upon development. And so that current farmland would be used for school district use. Third criteria, is this the most is it consistent with the most desirable use of the land? Plan Commission said yes, that the parcel is shown as institutional in the comprehensive plan, so therefore it is. Fourth one is it consistent with the conservation of property values? They said yes. It would be consistent with the use of the property to the west, which is where that administration building is and the middle school. And it will be a similar use to the property to the north, which the school district intends on developing. Now there is a residential property that is to the east of this one. So upon development, the school district would need to put in what's called a type 3 buffer yard to the residential property to the east because of the difference in zoning. And so that would just involve having some trees, mound, shrubs, a fence, things of that nature. Is this rezone, is it consistent with responsible growth and development? And Plan Commission said yes, that since it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and it's adjacent to institutionally zoned land, it would be consistent with responsible growth and development. I think that's the last one. And then there was no remonstrance that was filed. There were some concerns from the neighboring property owner as to how the property would be developed and what impact that might have on their property, natural concerns. Those would be addressed down the road when the school district actually files for a site plan. They haven't, I think, figured out 100% how they're going to utilize the property. It could be for, I think, a bus garage. It could be a mixture of a bus garage and a road that would link up to the northern part of their enlarged campus. So it's still up in the air at this point, but that would be fully vetted by staff and the public. The Plan Commission would have the opportunity to review that. So with that, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to address it. Thank you.
Any questions? I have one. So it's residential now, so it's taxed as farmland right now, okay? Let's say they don't build on it for 10 years and they continue farming it. They pay taxes. Is there a higher rate for industrial that will change it to, or is it still taxed the same as farmland?
Well, so it's going to institutional. And so institution, yeah. So my understanding is that as soon as the school district corporation closes on the property and they own it, they could sit on the property for 10, 20 years and they still wouldn't pay taxes on it because it's owned by a municipal entity. So.
Even if they farm it?
That's my understanding, correct. I think that's, I think I agree. Yeah. So,
If they had no intention of ever developing it for school property, then I think they would run into what you may be getting at is a public entity acting as a private property owner. But if, they're waiting on bonds and other plans and it's going to happen, their long-term is not to cash rent it, then I agree with that, and I don't think they're gonna be taxed on that.
Because they bought some property a long time ago out there on Oleo Road, close to 40, and I think they're still, it's still
I
out
think
there.
that's what they were selling.
They're getting ready to sell, yes,
Yeah.
but they're
To pay
getting,
for
they
it.
probably owned it for 20-some years.
Exactly.
Okay,
Taxes on it.
just
Right.
curious, it's just a question.
Ready?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-5D, change of zoning classification for 1700 West State Road 234, the literal property.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, thank you. Alrighty. Oh, here we go, firm selection of water plant BOT. Who wants to start that
I think we'll
conversation?
let them get.
Joe?
You want to?
Yeah, that's what you guys.
Yeah, because I think everybody's here, right?
I think there's somebody here to represent every firm.
You guys want to say a piece?
Me first?
Sure, you're sitting in the front row.
I get the
That's a good front row picture, right?
Yes. Well, good evening, and it's a pleasure to see you again. I'm Doug Tischbein with Reynolds Construction. We've been working with you for about 6 months, and we're honored and blessed to be here tonight. Our proposal was, I think, as you see, very comprehensive to include other improvements that we've identified throughout the town, expedite the process for construction, working with partners on engineering, dedicated local project manager that's lives in town that's going to deliver it. And we look forward to receiving your approval tonight in order to move forward to the engineering phase. And we can start construction still this year. So thanks again for your time and your investment in us to date, and look forward to working with you through the rest of the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
I was not prepared to say anything.
I'm Tracy Williams with Donahue. Actually, I chose to come here instead of Bowen since I had the relationship with the town already. We do work here, we work with the water plant, we work with Dave. So we really thought we've put together a really strong team with Bowen and Greg Marks, who does BOTs for a living. So we have teamed up with them on other alternative procurement methods, and we've been very successful. One of the things that we felt was really strong in our proposal was we did tighten the timeline, but we know there's some things you have to do with the BOT statute that we didn't feel like were being addressed. I mean, we also feel like we did some value engineering where we can save you a lot more money than maybe the 30 or so thousand that would be at stake here. So we think we put together a really good team, and we have a relationship here. We know the water plant, we know the wastewater plant, we know what we need to do at the water plant to make the wastewater plant chloride issue be addressed. So I was not prepared.
That's okay.
So, do you have any questions on our proposal that you wanted to ask?
I don't.
Okay.
See all the tall people in first.
Hi.
Hi.
Good thing we're right.
Hi, I'm Tina Wolf with Kokosing Industrial.
And DLZ, or Chris Franz with DLZ, Indiana.
So Kokosing Industrial, we're located right around the corner in Greenfield. It's about 15 minutes from our yard to your yard. We are very excited to put this proposal in front of you. We, as you know, have offered a couple things that we think will not only expedite the construction process, but also make the management of that process easier. That includes self-financing for up to 12 months. so that you can have time to put long-term financing in place. And if you would like to use private financing, we also team with Greg. So from the time you say, we want to work with you, Kekosing, until the time we're actually building, will be very easy, very low stress. We have, as you saw in our proposal, done over 21 GSCs, which are very similar to BOTs. None of our customers had paid more than the GMP. On almost all of them, I think with the exception of 2, have received money back. So we stand by our commitment on our guaranteed maximum price. We know we can deliver this project for you, and it seems like you're gonna need it sooner rather than later, because you got some houses to come. Would you like to comment, Chris?
I would too. So DLZ's been in Indiana for over 100 years. We've been serving clients similar to you guys for that long. We've just wrapped up several designs very similar to the water treatment plant that I think you guys are going to be looking for, which is about a 2 million gallon per day now. And then sometime in the future, you're going to need about 3 million gallons. And you talked about responsible growth, which is what we've preached for a long time over the past 20 to 30 years that we've been working with the city of Mishawaka and seeing them grow. We've helped them perform similar upgrades throughout their entire system. And we've worked successfully with Kekosing on several projects where we constructed a, 1.85 or something like that? No, it was even bigger. Water treatment plant in 11 months. So we understand timelines are tight, and we obviously know that you guys are coming very close to the maximum potential of your water treatment plant. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you and Robert and who else was involved? Okay, and you guys went through every one of them. I know you guys spent a lot of time on those too, to make your decisions.
How you want to go about it, John?
It's up to the scoring committee, how you guys want to recommend, who you want to recommend.
Everybody was really close.
Yeah.
Let's make it
That's what
so
makes
hard.
it tough, yeah.
Talk about your guys' familiarity with the thought process.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Us, well, as I've been honest all the way through, we haven't completed one, but the BOT process is just a contracting procurement tool. It's construction and services, and we're familiar with the financing. I mean, our core business is total construction, right? So probably 80% of this is going to be done with self-performing crews underneath our umbrella. We've worked with Buzz, and we have a financing plan, and like others have mentioned, it will be structured so you're not paying anything during the construction term, so you're not out of pocket until the assets are conveyed to you, and then you actually take title to it, and then you start making your debt service payments. And that'll be the same structure for the other projects that we also looked at. You know, and as I mentioned, we're going into the engineering design phase. We've finished the study. So as we talk about value engineering and input in ways to do things differently, we'll continue to work with Dave and his team and Tanya and Robert in order to make sure that we're getting the costs as low as we possibly can, as we've done over the 3 different designs we've done already.
So next steps, Alex?
The council considers the proposals with the evaluation committee looked at, and it's important that the law states you select the most responsive, so they addressed what was in the bid documents and to your satisfaction, and responsible, so that's the more subjective, I would say, experience or other projects or, things that aren't necessarily just directly related to checking all the boxes in the bid documents. And so your decision should be based on who the council thinks is the most responsible bidder, and then select that company.
I don't want to leave you out, Dave. Anything you want to add to?
Find out if Dave has a preference.
I don't know, it's tight.
I mean, it's all very close.
We kind of all scored about the same, so it makes it really hard.
So I'm comfortable with, since it was so very close, we're invested with Reynolds. And some of the conversation we've had, I'm comfortable proceeding with Reynolds.
I like that we've gone through more of the projects with you other than just the water plant too, so. That would lead me toward, and we spend a lot of time together already so far, so it makes it hard for, you have a lot.
David? I don't want to leave David out.
He's not,
He's gonna
that's,
stay next door.
that's not in
Yeah.
his pay grade.
Well, let's just stick with Reynolds. And go
Okay,
that way.
so I get a motion.
I make a motion to proceed for the firm selection for the water plant, to proceed with Reynolds team.
All in favor?
We need a
What,
second.
need a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, Joe, town report.
Yeah, the only thing I really got, you've already met Andy. As you know, from previous meetings, we've discussed a new website coming up. And Carrie had been working with the website company to get that up and running. And it just so happens they delivered and made it live Friday after she's gone. So if you would, please go out and look at the site, see if there's anything that you want to see tweaked, changed, added, or anything we can
It's up now.
do to make it better. And Andy will be the man that will be perfecting that for us.
The new website's up now?
It is.
Okay. And also in the audience, tonight, go home, check the website, and if you have any questions or run them by us, and make some changes also.
Adam, would you want to pull that up? Just kind of run just a quick.
Of course, the mobile app's gonna look different than it is.
Yes. I want you.
Yeah, the mobile app is a bit different.
Click down on minutes and agendas. Sometimes that's go into government, click on the agendas for a minute.
We've got the YouTube videos.
Okay, that looks a lot better.
That's good.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Before, it was kind of,
You can sort it over there if I had to.
It was just hard to find period before, I think.
yeah, it's a lot easier to find. And you're not going back like January, looking at the agenda in January, like, what? And so that's good.
The permit fees and everything are on there too, right?
And if they go to their permits, are they able to print those out also?
Applications, yeah.
The applications?
First I've seen it. Looks good.
Looks nice.
I'm guessing we'll be able to pull those out online too.
It looks nice. Much more user friendly.
So we'll be playing around with it, trying to get familiar with it. Again, if you see anything on there that would make it better, let us know.
And then how did you do the business directory? Was it voluntary, you just tried to go all the way to the business directory?
Right.
Actually, that's interesting that the chamber had reached out to us asking us for a list of our local businesses.
Mhm.
So Carrie spent a lot of time going out. In fact, we even drove around and looked at some of the businesses to get the names and a lot of the Facebook pages and compiled as much as we could. If they had logos and we were able to use them, if not, she would try to reach out to them and see if they had a logo that we can use.
So we'll put something out there also. If somebody's business isn't in there and they want it, then we need to have them reach out to who at the, Andy?
Probably Andy. I think
Okay.
something that the council needs to decide if you're gonna do that is, are you gonna promote local businesses in the corporate limits, or are you gonna expand it? I mean, because if anybody's
No, just
Contacting us.
just anybody in town.
in town, in the
Yeah,
corporate limits.
yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't, like to be on that directory, and they may be even across county lines.
Right.
Need some clarification from you.
Somebody from Hamilton Town Center, no.
One question I had when I was reviewing this, Adam, if you go back up, I don't know that there's a link any longer for folks for the council to contact us. I know that they took out the email addresses for multiple reasons, but it was under government, I believe. Oh, no, right there it was under elected officials, yeah, right there. Yeah. There used to be a way you could click on it and it would go to Carrie and then she would forward it to us.
Right.
I don't see that on here.
Why didn't it
Maybe
just go
send her
directly
contact
to
us.
us?
Phishing. That way it established that middle ground.
So when you click on my name, does it show my email address? Okay, we need to add that.
Well, we actually took that up for a reason, because there was some fraud going around throughout the state with utilizing that. In fact, there was people saying, this is council member, council president, you need to, move some money pretty quickly.
So they insert a button that you could still contact and
Yeah.
basically put a.
Go to the contact us up there, Adam, and see what.
Oh, maybe it's in there,
Yeah, good.
That's the one thing I noticed.
Okay. You can put my cell phone up there, I don't care. They want to contact me.
Well, they were all on there. I thought they were still on there. I guess I didn't know that all come down.
Because I still get people contacting me on my email asking me questions. Okay, but that goes through Carrie and then to me.
Now, if they're emailing you directly, it comes right to you, but at one point, we were receiving a lot of phishing and spam and
Yeah,
there was
that's
some
what I was
security
getting.
concerns. So there was still a way they could click on contact, and then that would go through Carrie, and then she would forward it to whoever it was.
Okay.
So I used to get.
Or maybe it went to the system, it may not have necessarily went to her, but it was going out to the system without the email. There's the email address.
So you gotta get Tammy's still up there.
Yeah, well, good thing we didn't put Carrie on there.
Okay. Well, I see one change already. Okay.
Yeah.
And does it have the police officers on there and their,
It's got a link for the police department, fire department's got a, in fact, on the calendar, so they can see what days the community center is rented out, when it's available.
Nice.
does it tell who's on the zoning board and all that also? Okay.
It's good.
I get it. Our emails are on blast, but you guys aren't.
It's like everybody with the calendar.
I don't know how that happened.
Oscar doesn't have any.
We gotta fix that. If they click on our photos, they should be able to have a link to.
Even the-
Yeah, we're gonna link all ours to Oscar.
Yeah.
Just get a Paul Brent return.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
In the next week or so. All right, Heath here on the Parks Department?
He is not here this week. He is gonna do an update for you at the next meeting on the event from last weekend.
Well, he's not here, but I thought, oh my, they did an excellent job. On July 10th, they took a wait, look, see. They didn't make a rush decision. They waited till Saturday. And then they took another look, see, because a lot of times it's hard when you're in charge of making a decision like that. And I just commend them, just making decisions. And then when they had to make the critical decision at the end, they made it. They're good leaders, and I aired the whole day. The decision-making was spot on, and it's always easy to be the armchair quarterback the next day, but they did a good job,
Yes, they
and I really appreciate it. Tell Heath that he did a great job.
Yeah, a lot of good volunteers helping.
Yes.
That's good.
And the Friends of the Park. Thank you. Okay, anybody else on that? Okay. Adam, you have anything else?
I said no.
Okay. Clerk treasurer's not here. Patrick, chief? No?
Not unless you have something.
Alex?
Unless you have questions for me, Robin?
The license plate readers.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know you've been they're still new. Any additional feedback on those or?
We've had several hits. We are averaging anywhere between 300 and 320,000 people on any rolling month of license plates read. And that doesn't include the ones, the images of vehicles with non-license plates or people walking through, like the park gate. He's got with me, we're gonna start doing, he's gonna add into his report like a monthly total of how many vehicles or people have been in, through the plate read at the park. We did have a sexual offender in the park about a week and a half ago, which our officers quickly responded to and got them out of the park and told them they weren't allowed to be in there per their agreement with the state. And that's about it.
And then the relay app's still right there.
Mhm.
Any feedback on that? Because I know I've had some here more recently, but how popular is that? Or
It gets used. It's sporadic. Sometimes we'll get 3 or 4 a day. Sometimes we won't get any for a week. But I could pull the data if you'd like to see
Oh, no,
it.
that's okay. I was just curious.
But yeah, it gets used. Unfortunately, our response time is showing about an hour and 10 minutes. But that could be because that officer's on a call or in the jail or whatever, and then they don't get the relay because it went to their phone and that's in their car because they can't bring it into the jail, and then they don't see it for a while. But I get them, so if I'm up, I usually just text the officer, hey, you got a relay pending whenever you're free, and things like that. So it's a tool. I wish we could get more users on it. It's great for non-emergency concerns, or even if they have an emergency, they can just open the app and hit that. It is an emergency, and it will go out to 911 and it'll respond as an emergency. It geotags their location. It sends it through relay, which sends it through dispatch, which sends it a 911 call basically to us to come respond. So it's a good tool. We keep trying to promote it. We keep putting something out about once a month. Their team sends me something just to forward on. So we're moving forward with that.
Good. I appreciate the update.
Yep. Any other questions?
Excited for your new officer too.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good fit. Very personable and very likable person. And
Thanks for inviting me.
yeah, I wanted to make sure everybody could see him and be introduced to him, besides just on Facebook. We made it a Facebook official, but we had to go from there. So, anything else?
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Public comment. Jack?
Hello, everyone. I come before you today to discuss an issue here just outside of town, or inside of town on the outside edge. I own a property at 917 East Broadway Street. It's been used as a car lot since the 1980s up until the 1st of July, basically. I have a new tenant that's coming in, and as a part of that process, just so you guys understand how this works, in order for a car dealer to become licensed, they already have to have an office space. It already has to be leased, it already has to be there, has to have a sign. They have to have certain regulations. That property has been in use as a car dealer location since the 80s, and it's never been an issue. It meets all the state requirements. But the state also requires, because car dealers have been a little shady in the past, they require a zoning affidavit form to be signed by the local zoning official, whomever that may be. So before we get too far into that specific issue, I just want to talk generally about the process by which it takes to be a business owner in Fortville anyway. I would think that it would be in agreement with this council that we would want to make it as easy as possible for people to start and open businesses in our community, as long as there's not a pending safety threat or some other issue that may come up. And so in this situation, I have a situation where an individual has signed a long-term lease under the understanding that it has been and should be continued to be used as a car dealer location. The hiccup comes with Mr. Zaklikowski's interpretation of the document that is being presented from the state. I'm not here to argue too much about what's legal, what's not. That's not my point. Like I've explained to Fritz throughout this process, the reality of what I think Mr. Zaklikowski is doing is I think he's not being beneficial for the town in the long term. We all know that this is an old town. We all know that there are structures and buildings in this town that will be changed over time to fit our current code, but they don't fit that current code now. But as the uses and the owners or tenants change, those things will change over time. My problem has always been that the market now in Fortville is something we've never seen before. So all of these properties that have been problem properties in the past, they're sorting themselves out as soon as the owners change hands. But what I feel is, I feel that the town is heavy-handed by forcing certain actions that are gonna happen naturally upon their own. So in the specific situation that I have, Mr. Zaklikowski has made it not really clear. That's why I had to schedule this for today. We started this process in June in the hopes to get ahead of this, to kind of find out what the issues may or may not be. When Mr. Zaklikowski saw the zoning affidavit, I've never been once notified that I'm in violation of any law, code, rule, or ordinance. Never once have I ever received a letter up until I wanted to change my tenant. Once that document got before Mr. Zaklikowski, he made two determinations. The one determination was that I'm required to install some sort of ADA compliant parking area, and that I must install a bathroom per the building inspector's review of the code. Now, obviously, the structure has been in existence since the 80s. It has been licensed as a car dealership since that time. If there was a requirement by the state to have a bathroom for that, for a car dealer, we would have already had one. So we've gone a little round and round with the code. You know, they've shared codes, we've shared other codes. I've had to hire professionals to try to combat this. I've never once, well, in the beginning, I'm automatically opposed to an installation of a new bathroom. However, I really don't care. It doesn't come at my expense. My problem at this point is I have a tenant who cannot start their business, according to Mr. Zaklikowski now, until a bathroom is installed, certified by the state, and ADA parking is installed. So in the meantime, his clock keeps ticking, his rent keeps coming due, the undue hardship is upon him trying to start a business, trying to be a legitimate business owner. During this process, it was suggested, because in the beginning, I didn't get a clear response. You can't get a sign permit, you can't get the zoning affidavit signed unless a bathroom and this ADA is compliant. Since then, we've got the sign permit going through. So we're making progress. When he spoke with the tenant's husband, he explained to them that all I had to do was agree to build a bathroom and he would sign the affidavit and we could move forward. And like I explained to the tenant, I'm not opposed to the installation of a bathroom. Again, it's not at my expense. So I'm not exactly concerned about the cost or the burden. What I am concerned about is the upfront burden that this tenant is going to have to incur. We already talked about the bathroom. Again, going back to the market conditions. When the tenant came in, we knew they didn't have a bathroom. He already said at his own expense, he was going to build one probably by year 2, started probably at the end of this year. The problem was going to solve itself. What's happened since is the town has come in with what we feel is an undue burden. The realities of installing a bathroom at that location right now will probably be at minimum, just for the bathroom, ADA compliant. Keep in mind, the building is less than 500 square feet. The code that they cited doesn't even require a sink to be installed in the bathroom, but to be ADA compliant, it will have to be. So there's all kinds of issues that are going to have to come up, but you're probably talking somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 that someone's going to have to spend right away before they can even start business. Now that concerns me slightly. On the one hand, I want to feel like, if it was a safety issue, man, no doubt, let's take care of it. But we're talking about a sanitation issue. And if you read into the code, it even tells you that the bathroom is required when a business has employees. And I would argue, and the council would too, that a single member LLC has no employees. However, I'm not trying to argue the code. I'm trying to get the business started, trying to get him in there. He was going to build the bathroom anyway. Is there a way possible that we can work together and agree to do these things and let the business begin with the agreement that it will be done within a certain period of time upon certain standards? We're not opposed to doing the work. I'm simply opposed to being forced when the market was already going to dictate that I had to do this anyway. It's not something that I'm opposing because I don't want to spend the money. Gosh, every dollar I spend is only going to increase the value of my property. So I'd be a fool not to want to improve the property. I'm just not willing to be forced in a manner that is detrimental to not only the tenant, but also the community. So I just come before you today to seek clarification because, again, I started this process in June, and it wasn't until a couple of hours ago that I received the email from you, and I assume from you, stating that here is in the code where we say it's wrong. Up until 2 hours ago, I couldn't even make an educated, informed decision as to what the town's doing because it wouldn't give me a clear-cut answer. So I'm here before you asking, how do I proceed? Right now, I'm stuck with Mr. Zaklakowski saying, unless a bathroom is finalized installed with state release included, nothing's gonna happen. In which case, why does this individual have to be stuck with an undue burden when it's something we were gonna do already?
Right.
So I'm asking for guidance moving forward.
This is an easy one for the council.
Right.
The guidance is Mr. Ratliff's complaints, questions aren't suited for the council. They're suited for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Right.
And he can appeal Mr. Zaklakowski's decision to enforce the zoning code and the building standards the town's adopted. And the BZA can listen to Mr. Ratliff's side of the story and decide whether they want to uphold Adam's decision, modify it, come up with something else. And if Mr. Ratliff doesn't like what happens at the BZA, he can take that to the trial court and appeal that as well. But that's the process. So this is really a BZA issue.
Right. And I'm not asking you to resolve the issue between us. I'm wanting you to be aware of what it takes to get something done in this town, to get communication from the attorney or from your professionals.
Right.
The issue isn't, I mean, I understand the tactic. Come on, I've been through this before. This individual attempted to change the zoning on the property when I bought it in an effort to keep it from being a car lot. This is either has to be a personal thing against me or it has to be a personal thing against car lots. Either way, the issue is still around and I'm being continually harassed. I'm not worried about the bathroom, and that's, again, not your decision. But you need to know that it takes 3 weeks to get a response from the professionals heading up your town. And I think that's unacceptable. I mean, I once sat on this council. I would expect a fairly reasonable response time. The thing is that each delay causes further delays, which I believe is intentional for the intended result, which I'm not going to get into. But again, I will address this with the BCA. But the town needs to understand that you're making very hard things to do before people can open up their business. So perhaps there are things that you can do to help alleviate future situations so people like me don't have to go through this, and that you can make it easier for businesses to start in this town. Yes, I'm gonna have to go through the process. Yes, if I don't like the results, we're gonna have to go through the process. The whole point was that we were more than willing to do the bathroom. Verbally, he explained that all we had to do was agree, but everything changes when I just ask for proof of where in the code, because I just need to be informed. You're just verbally telling me that I have to do something. Okay, I get that, but I'm a little different. I need to be shown where you're showing me that this has to be done. Now, I didn't get that until 2 hours ago. Why is that? Why are we now day 19 or 20 something? I mean, he sent the email June 29th. Why couldn't I have gotten that June 29th or June 30th? Why is it delay? I feel it's a tactic. My whole point is, please do something so that other businesses don't suffer like I'm doing right now. Again, it doesn't ultimately affect me, it affects my tenant. He's the one paying for it, she's the one paying for it. I'm just trying to make it happen.
Thank you. We talked about this before, when it came to electrical permits and telling electricians to come back 2 and 3 days to pick up their permit. And we got that resolved where they go to the utility, they get their permit, and they're out the door. The residents in this town are our customers, okay? They're my customers, okay? I agree with your decision, okay? That he needs to go to the zoning and do all this, okay? But we need a quicker response, guys. When I'm in business, I have to respond to a customer within 15 minutes. Call back from water or fire damage, 15 minutes, or I lose the job and I gotta be at their house within 4 hours, okay? I'm asking, there has to be a sense of urgency. When a resident asks a question, we need to at least set a time limit, something, 24 hours. When we call the insurance companies, adjuster will say, I will get back to you by the end of the day. Our service has to increase, okay? That's all I'm saying.
So like I said, up until 2 hours ago, I didn't even know that this wasn't the correct forum to go before because I didn't have an official response. Again, another tactic, that feels like yet another tactic to just be a thorn in the side, as opposed to try to work together to get businesses open and to make our town prosperous. I mean, nobody wants to see that thing filled with anything not desirable. It's one of the first things you see coming into town. I'd sure hate to think that it would go abandoned and stay raggedy looking just because the town wants to take a stand on something, or I want to be ridiculous. I'm not trying to be ridiculous. I want to negotiate. I don't know why that can't be done. And so I understand what Mr. Intermill is saying, that Mr. Zaklikowski's made a decision, but he's already made a decision and backed out of that decision. So why can't he make another decision and back out of this one? He already said he wasn't going to get a sign permit until these things happen, and the tenant got a sign permit. So all I'm saying is that in the world of everything is possible, everything is possible. All I'm saying is I want to help this guy get into his business. I'm not trying to be a burden. I'm trying to help. But at the same time, it's just being needled and stuck when there has to be a resolution. There has to be a way that we would negotiate. And even Alice would understand this, that even if it comes down to a development agreement, you guys will have to be a part of the decision-making if it comes to that anyway. So it can't just be the zoning people.
That's not right. This is a zoning issue. It's the BZA. You guys
Well,
created it.
Right.
I don't understand that.
I agree, but our response has to be quicker, okay? We can't wait 3 weeks and then right before the meeting give him a response.
I mean, like,
I think there's been plenty of dialogue before the email today. I mean, so I don't think it's Mr. Ratliff's been waiting around and it's one issue after another. What I can see.
I literally sent
I get the
email,
legal
even
issues.
tied to it. I mean, I've been waiting for.
I'm not your lawyer,
I know, we've already been through that.
so I don't answer your legal questions.
I understand that, we've been through that. I didn't ask you, I asked him to find the answer because I can't get a resolution.
Just understand, copying the town council's lawyer on your email isn't gonna get you legal advice from me.
I'm not trying to get legal advice, I'm just trying to make everybody aware of what's going on because I'm looking for a fast resolution. That's the whole point.
I believe you have 10 days to request your appeal to the BZA of Adam's decision, and we'll schedule a hearing.
Absolutely. But you guys are aware, and I just want to make you aware, you guys have the power to change these ordinances. You have the power to change these people in charge. Might want to start thinking about some of those if our town continues to be harassed. Well, the locals continue to be harassed. The new people get a different kind of feel. But either way, I'm done with that. I'll go to the BZA. I'll address my grievances there. But I just want to make you aware of the difficulties it takes to start a business in this community.
Now, you're saying he has to wait 10 days, but the BCA is.
But again, no strategy.
There again, since we've waited so long for a response, can he
Well,
get
that's-
on the zoning this go around?
All I will say is that's not entirely accurate, what he's telling me. I don't want to get into it.
Well,
tit
show
for
us
tat.
that it's not. I wanna
Yes,
see that
please.
It's not.
I have
Oh, I
emails.
can show you the
Okay.
emails that were sent.
All right.
The bottom line, the process is the BZA process.
But the
as far as
process is,
zoning against it.
he needs to go to the BZA.
So I think the
So-
question Fritz asked was, what's the deadline to get on the BZA?
So the deadline
Has
is
it passed?
within, no, it hasn't passed. He has 10 days to officially,
So he can be on.
So when's the next BCA, the 27th?
he could potentially be on it.
So I guess
What's
this
this?
is direct ask. Will I be able to make the BZA agenda this month? Can there be an exception made for the
Yeah,
time?
That was my question.
Potentially.
29th, it looks like, is the next meeting.
The 29th is the next meeting, so
At
potentially.
6:30.
So tomorrow he'll be behind if he makes that decision. So
So,
Well, clearly I have to go, I mean,
So what I had-
I gotta do something. I gotta,
right.
you know, he's paying money. He's probably $15,000 into this thing already, just trying to get a business started. You know, had I known the bathroom would have been required for the next tenant, had he told me that at any point in time, I had any notice, wouldn't have ever been an issue. But I didn't have any notice. It all comes up the very last second, and now the clock starts ticking.
what I would say is
So
most
it's pretty simple.
business owners that we've dealt with, whether they're here locally, whether they come in from out of town, will meet with staff, whether it's with me and Joe or one or the other, to discuss the plan of what do we need to do, what permits do we need to acquire to get this thing rolling. That's pretty normal. And the reason we do that is so we can fast track things so that things don't get delayed for anybody. In this particular situation, he took it upon himself to assume what the zoning ordinance would require, what the building code would require, and made arrangements with his client based on his own knowledge of how things should work. And
It was the
unfortunately,
pre-existing condition of that property, that was what you based that on.
Well, based on the fact that we've already been through
those
this
are all,
process.
what I would say it's just
before.
assumptions. He's
Well,
just making assumptions. And so
But hey, we're not gonna solve this tonight. I'd say
So-
that, if it's past the deadline.
It's not past the
Let's get him on the next
We
agenda for the.
we can do
BZA.
that. You just need to file it according to those.
Sure, absolutely.
The requirements.
But I just
within
wanted to
10
be
days.
clear though, 3 years ago when I bought this property, there was every attempt to prevent it. Mr. Zaklikowski attempted to prevent it. The problem was that the county had the authority, in which case that's the reason why we got the permission. So here we have a situation where I feel it's overreach. Again, I'm not trying to argue about it. I just want to get it over with and be done with it. Again, it doesn't cost me, it's not my problem. I just want to help this guy out.
It's just, all I'll say is, it's not fully accurate. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I'll send you all the emails, it's fine.
Thank you. Alrighty, town council comments. Becky,
Nothing.
Robert,
I mean,
Libby? Tanya?
I'm good.
I'm good, thank you.
make a motion, we approve and sign vouchers.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Make a motion, we adjourn at 8:21.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you.
Hey, how are you? Good. Hey, actually, did we get this?